Although the Buddha did teach the necessity of detachment, it doesn't mean that as a Buddhist you're expected to disengage from the world altogether. The Buddha also taught that a central virtue is compassion, is feeling sympathy for others and acting on that behalf. Partly this is motivated by the idea that we have no real self, the doctrine of anatta. Because once we realize that, then the whole idea of selfishness becomes impossible. Once we recognize that we're all connected, that everything is interrelated, that your neighbor's interests are the same as yours, and you can even extend that sense of compassion and unity to non-human sentient beings, then selfishness becomes an absurdity and an impossibility. So there are two primary divisions of Buddhism, and there's a third one which we'll talk about, Tibetan Buddhism. The first is called Theravada, and Theravada means the way of the elders, and that reflects the fact that Theravadins follow the Buddhists' earliest teachings. And Theravada Buddhism, as we saw from the previous map, is dominant in Cambodia, Burma, Sri Lanka, Laos, and Thailand, and it constitutes roughly 40% of Buddhists in the world. In Theravada Buddhism, there's a major distinction between monks and lay people and ordinary Buddhists. And only monks are able to achieve nirvana because they follow a much stricter ethical path in which they minimize their bad karma and devote themselves to meditation and study, which allows them to, like the Buddha, to achieve enlightenment. This is impossible for average Buddhists because, unlike monks who don't have families, who have very few possessions, who live very simple lives, ordinary Buddhists, of course, have jobs and have children and spouses, and so can't devote themselves with sufficient focus to achieve enlightenment. The main scripture for Theravada Buddhism is the Pali Canon, which is believed to be the oldest existing record of the Buddhist teachings. And there are also many other sacred books that Buddhists have a wide variety of sacred books. Another is the Lotus Sutra. Theravada Buddhists do revere the Buddha, and so you'll see images of them venerating images or statues which depict the Buddha, but they don't technically worship him or pray to him, because the Buddha taught that he, again, was not divine, and moreover, he taught that he could not save anyone except himself, that everyone is responsible for their own spiritual destiny and needs to achieve nirvana through his or her own efforts. Now, the Buddha acknowledged that the gods exist, but he said essentially that they're irrelevant to achieving perfect peace, enlightenment, nirvana. If you want to get rich, if you want to be successful, be powerful, then by all means you can pray to the gods and they can probably help you do that. But if your goal is to escape the cycle of samsara, only you can accomplish that end. This shows some Buddhist monks in Thailand in traditional garb. And again, they live very simple lives with few possessions. The other major division of Buddhism is called Mahayana, and that means the great vehicle, which reflects the fact that it's more accessible to the average person. There's less of a distinction between monks and lay people, and it's also more popular. Roughly 56% of Buddhists follow Mahayana Buddhism, and it's dominant in China, Korea, Vietnam, and Japan. It's similar to Bhakti Marga in that Mahayana Buddhists believe that there are bodhisattvas, which are enlightened beings who, like the Buddha, rejected the temptation to pass on to nirvana after they were enlightened because of their great compassion for other sentient individuals, so they remained behind, and because they possess so much spiritual power and have accumulated such a vast store of positive karma, they're actually able to save people who worship them. And this quote reflects that view. The Bodhisattva was thought to have attained such a vast store of merit through his many lives of self-sacrifice that he could distribute this immense surplus to others to help them on their way. Thus, the otherwise unworthy faithful person could, by calling on the Bodhisattva, gain extra merit, bringing her closer to final release from suffering. And this is a vow taken by a Bodhisattva from a 7th century scripture. He says, "I take the sufferings of all beings on myself, for I have taken the vow to save all beings. I am not concerned only about my own salvation, since I must save all beings from the flood of samsara. It is better that I alone should suffer than that these beings should sink down into the places of torment. I give myself